It's so cool. This is happening. It's real. I think this is kind of the dawn of a new era that we're seeing this private-public partnership, kind of like that movie Armageddon, but instead of the world being blown up by the asteroid, we want to mine the asteroid and then sell that stuff. We're going to start off with a fun topic. It is techie. Maybe there's a platform dynamic here. I don't know. It's a little too early to tell. And that is space. Put in short, space is pretty awesome. Elon Musk is pretty awesome. And recently, Elon just put up another 60 Starlink satellites. Here, let's check this video out.
Starlink deploy confirmed.
And now you can see on screen these satellites are slowly separating from the second stage.
So I'd say that's pretty awesome. They now have over 800 Starlink satellites are up in orbit, which is pretty impressive. That is still a fraction of the total number of satellites needed for global coverage, but it's enough to begin providing services in some regions like the Northwest of the United States. And that is where now Microsoft has announced a partnership with SpaceX to connect the Azure cloud to the Starlink satellite internet. I mean, it's so cool. It's so cool. This is happening. It's real. They can service the Northwest US. Now, there's a really cool, you're like, oh, well, what does this mean? So check this out. This is a remote Microsoft Azure little data center. This is like a little container. You just drop this thing. This is a remote area. Let's say there's no readily available kind of internet infrastructure. Boom, they can use Starlink to back up this data center and get that connectivity going. So, I mean, that's just one example. There's other examples here about they call this the Azure Modular Data Center. But there's other examples about where this kind of Microsoft collaboration could take SpaceX and Microsoft. But it is very cool. I think this is kind of the dawn of a new era that we're seeing this private-public partnership as we explore space. That's the other news here, which is pretty cool, which is 8 nations have signed the Artemis Accords for moon exploration and beyond. So the U.S. has led this. There are 8 nations: Australia, Canada, Japan, Luxembourg, Italy, the United Kingdom, and the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, are participating in the Artemis program of crewed lunar exploration. Artemis aims to land 2 astronauts near the lunar South Pole by 2024. That's basically in 3 years. And establish a sustained human presence on and around the moon by the end of the decade. And again, there are a lot of initiatives here to try to monetize the moon, mine the moon. There's a lot of, minerals and just raw materials on the moon and asteroids that are easy to easier to launch from the moon, grapple onto the asteroid. Kind of like that movie Armageddon, but instead of the world being blown up by the asteroid, we want to mine the asteroid and then sell that stuff back on Earth. That's the idea. Some of these asteroids apparently have like $100 trillion or some crazy amount of value of like gold and other rare minerals traveling on them. So it's awesome. Now, the other cool part about this is, we've spoken about how SpaceX, Starlink, and the US DoD have already been collaborating for a couple of years now. They did that test down to one of those, kind of like those comms planes, right? Like the planes that have all the communication equipment, the radar equipment. So they're already getting that going. But again, this article is saying, right, 800 Starlink satellites, not enough for a global network. Okay. But again, the single biggest vulnerability of these communist totalitarian regimes is their firewall on knowledge and internet, and their abuse of tech monopolies China being the best at this. Their abuse of tech monopolies to enforce their political will on their people. And, there's all kinds of articles now about just Hong Kong suicide rates going through the roof. It's so sad to see, beyond the acceleration from COVID and lockdowns, but beyond what is kind of a normal increase in suicides because of COVID, Hong Kong is just beating is off the charts. Because now, they are now just a much greater step under the control of the CCP. Very unfortunate. But anyway, the single greatest silver bullet to pierce that veil would be something like Starlink. And now if you can provide a global network of internet via satellites, and you just need these receivers, which are I guess pretty inexpensive, and you need some hardware on the ground to receive the connection from the satellite. But assuming you have that, these aren't that big, these aren't that expensive. I think they're in the tune of like 3 figures, like hundreds of dollars, and pretty portable. Then you could now try to pierce this veil of the tech firewall, the tech Great Wall that China has created and has now been exporting to all of their other totalitarian friends. Piercing that veil will be such a valuable mechanism to just promote, freedom and knowledge and all these kinds of things that America and other, companies similar to us stand for. Hi, this is Alex from Winner Take All. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the content. Feel free to leave a comment, ask us questions, and definitely make sure to join us on our next live stream.